Welcome everybody to Conversing over Drinks. It is your host Cedric Turner, and we're here again with another episode. And I have a special guest on today. His name is Kadin McElwain. I don't know if I'm saying that
Oh, it's McElwain, but I have had people call me Kadin McElwain before, so I kind of like that vibe. It kind of has a John McClane Die Hard type vibe to it, but
correct.
it's McElwain.
McElwain. Okay, McElwain. He's from Clifton Park, New York, but he's residing currently in Plainsville, Ohio. I'm guessing that's where you go to college.
Kent, Ohio, actually, Kent
Kenton.
State University. Although
Okay.
I did spend freshman year in Painesville at Lake Erie College.
Okay. Well, he's an autistic college student. He's a writer. He's an activist. His mission is to bring more awareness to autism. And as someone who's grown up with a lot of people who have had autism, and I've always been one to lead or reach out a helping hand to them, it's great to have an episode with someone um, that has autism. So, and to bring more awareness to it. So, I feel like this episode is going to be great. Kaden, if you want to introduce yourself even more, go ahead, man.
Yeah, absolutely. I was diagnosed with autism when I was 2 years old, and as you said, throughout my life, I was told I wouldn't amount to anything because I'm on the spectrum. My middle school actually completely cut my services without my parents' consent to once. Looking back at it, I think it was probably intentionally to sabotage my success, because to be fair to them, they couldn't tell I had autism. Autism is a really complicated spectrum. So my parents wrote to various autism organizations and the state senator. This was in Tennessee. See, Black and Middle to be exact. Act is where I went to that did that. And looking back at it now, I am thinking about filing an Americans with Disabilities Act claim against them, but I probably won't since the past is past, and uh, it's to be left in past. And thanks to my stubbornness and my parents being in my corner for me, I was able to have tremendous success. I graduated high school early in 2022 on Valentine's Day, and then my advocacy journey began with a class project in my freshman year of college, which at Lake Erie College. So the assignment was to think of a way to help the community and act upon it pretty much. So me and my group set up a GoFundMe for Autism Society of America, and we raised $1,085 for that organization, and we won a contest with that. But unfortunately, which is typical of the TikTok generation, as I like to call my generation, my group only did the assignment to get the grade and the prize we got for winning the contest. And I thought, if no one else is going to be the leader of the autism rights movement, I might as well be, because no one in America takes autism awareness seriously enough, and I don't get it. I really don't. So that GoFundMe led to various opportunities for me, speaking
Yeah.
engagements with government officials. I got a proclamation last week for Autism Awareness Day. I was a representative of that. A holiday wasn't actually named after me, if that makes sense, but I was a representative who came in to receive that proclamation from Portage County, which is where Kent is at.
Okay. Well, Kaden, before we go any deeper into that, because I want to hear all about that. Why don't you tell everyone like what was life like growing up with autism? Like, being a teacher now. When I see kids with autism, it's something that I've learned from being a former student with people who had autism and understanding that that kid isn't just being a troublemaker. That kid just has different needs, and it's a goal of mine as a teacher to make sure that I can be able to teach everyone, no matter what their needs are. So, how was that like growing up in the school system with autism? Because that's me talking about as a teacher now, and I've been doing this for about 6 or 7 years now as a teacher. But I also know back when I was a student, which was almost 20 years ago, it was very different.
Yeah, absolutely. In elementary school, it wasn't as bad student-wise. I was pretty popular popular. The first time I moved, which was in Arizona, everyone pitched in for me to sign a peanut sign for me, like the sign saying that no peanuts here. This is an anti-allergy table. Because when I was in elementary school, I had a weird fixation with the sign, and I would always try to sneak it home with me, and I would always get caught by this lunch aide who playfully said, "Sneaky, sneaky, and we developed a parasocial relationship in a way. But yeah, I was popular among students, and there really wasn't an understanding of what autism was. They didn't see that, and I had good relationships with my teacher years. At most, all I had to do was go to occupational therapy and physical therapy in elementary school. But middle school and high school, which I'm sure is for everyone, was a nightmare of bullying and getting my services cut off without consent and misunderstandings from teachers because they couldn't tell because my grades were great, my behavior wasn't perfect, but it was typical of a teenager or a preteen. They couldn't tell I was on the spectrum, so the middle school cut my services off without parental consent. And there was an incident in the first week of my freshman year of high school. I can't say because it's a bit hypersensitive, but they thought of me as a troublemaker before I explained to them, hey, I'm on the spectrum.
Yeah.
So from that moment forward in high school, I had to take a special education class to learn social skills, which I despise, but looking back at it, it was actually extremely helpful for me. It truly was, and I'm grateful that the school put their foot down about that and said, no, you need this to graduate. But social-wise, I wasn't popular, and it was a nightmare of bullying and misunderstanding. So there's this one kid called Drake Miller who called me the R word in eighth grade, and me and him had a bit of a feud going on. One incident involving him, funny story, that got me in a bit of trouble with my parents was me recording a diss track about him since I was going through a weird rap, hip hop, wanting to be the next Notorious B.I.G. type fate. That was an interesting point for my parents to bring up with school or to the school in middle school. But I was still successful. My grades were great. But social skills, not so much.
Yeah. So when you talk about social skills, like you said, middle school and high school, it can be a nightmare for a lot of students. Um, I went through it a little bit, but I didn't go through it a lot. I was lucky enough to be an athlete and to be ahead of my class, and I just kind of blended in. So I didn't really get to experience the bullying, but I got to see it a lot, and it always made me feel bad for the kids. So I would always stand up for them, and I would try to help them out. But kids can just be mean sometimes, and especially at that age because we're all growing up at the same time in that age. We're all going through our changes, and we have our own insecurities, but then we're confused. We don't know what's happening, and so we don't know what's going on, and we hear and repeat what the adults in our lives are saying instead of building our own train of thought. And so, I like coming from someone who I never want to see somebody get bullied. I want to apologize that you had to go through that, man. Like I know that's a rough time. That's a rough time.
Yeah,
And
it absolutely is. And quite frankly, I think that kind of stuff, it starts at home. If the parents hate people with autism and people of a different race or sexuality or gender, that passes on to their kids. No
oh
exceptions.
yeah, bullies are definitely kids that are getting bullied at home. Like they don't feel confident at home. There's something going on at home, and so they take out that anger that they wish they could take out at home. They take it out on other kids at school. So like when it comes to bullying and stuff like that, it always starts in the household, and everything starts in the household. I mean, your parents are your first teachers. Like, you're not born hating, you're not born discriminating, you're not born any of that. Those are all taught traits. Like, people have taught you that. Like, so that's that's the thing that happens in the house. But you were a great student. You had some behavior issues. You had to get some social skills. Uh, Getting those social skills, how did they help you with that? Was it just like, did you have a like a professional, like a partner teacher that was with you all day, or
Mhm.
did you have somebody that was just kind of guiding you through the day and like helping you with your social cues?
Oh, uh, oh no, not in high school. That would have furthered my social statness, if you will. At most in high school, all I had to do was take a class about that, which I despise. Like I said, they taught us things like how to make friends, and there were actually quizzes and grades over that, which, looking back at it, I think it was ridiculous. They should just teach the social skills you need, and the test, if you will, should be applying those skills in the real world. It was elementary school where I had the aide who was babying me and coddling me and doing X, Y, and Z thing,
Yeah,
which I look back on it now was quite frankly helpful, at least in elementary school. Because, like I said, students didn't see that. They just saw someone who was feeling misunderstood and someone who was young.
yeah, man. That always shows a big difference. Like, as a teacher, I've always been asked what ages I prefer, and I've always said I prefer to teach younger children because they're so much more fun, um, and they're just innocent. They don't see different things. They just accept everything, and they just want to be friends with everybody. The older they get, the more cynical they get, um, and it's weird. I'd rather teach younger students, but I'd rather coach older students because it's just my blend. But what are some challenges people don't realize that you go through on a day-to-day basis?
It's mainly being misunderstood,
Yeah,
misunderstanding facial expressions, taking things too literally, not putting myself out there as much as I should, quite frankly. Ironically, I'm a PR major, so I'll have to do a lot of that stuff in the field, like going out to dinner with various clients or interacting with them over the phone or in a meeting, that kind of thing. So it's mainly those things, but surprisingly enough, PR has been working out amazingly for Me, but those are the main three things I struggle with.
yeah. And I feel like these platforms that we do now, especially with podcasting, it's really helping a lot of people with PR and public speaking and just putting yourself out there, because once you get comfortable doing stuff like this, you feel a more comfortable ability to go out and do it amongst people. And so I feel like these platforms have really helped a lot of people in that sense. But what are some things that help you with your autism throughout the day?
Quite frankly, having a good attitude about it has been extremely helpful for me.
Yeah,
When I was younger, I thought of autism as a curse, a spawn of the devil, and something that needed to be cured immediately. But the more I learned about it as an adult, the more I realized it's quite frankly a gift. There are a lot of people out there with autism who have done amazing things thanks to their gifts and their fixations on various things. I think Bruce Willis's daughter, one of them, just said she was on the autism spectrum. Bill Gates on the autism spectrum. Tim Burton was on the
yeah,
spectrum. Newton, Einstein, and all these amazing people were on the autism spectrum, yet they still continued to do amazing things in society. Unfortunately, there are people who have autism who don't get those opportunities that people like me do. They're on the lower end. They can't walk, can't talk, and unfortunately, they have to be taken care of for the rest of their lives or put in a group home, which is honestly sad. One of my goals for my advocacy work in the future is to find a way to make low functioning autism into high functioning autism. I think with
So
today,
how would you go about that? How would you go from making low functioning autism into a high functioning autism?
I'm about to get into that. I think with today's technology and medical advancements, so we have the capability to somehow reverse the DNA of people with low functioning autism who can't walk or talk and somehow make it into high functioning. I think we as a society are so technologically advanced that we have those capabilities. But unfortunately, the US government decides to put their money towards TikTok bans or drag show bans and irrelevant stuff and crap that honestly makes the problem even worse.
Yeah, I can see where you're coming from on that. As a criminal justice major and as a history major, I've always been on the fence about what the government does with our tax dollars and they how they don't spend it for the people. Like our government officials at the beginning, they were set to be for the people. That's why we elected government officials. They were for the people. They worked for us. They were civil servants. They worked for the people. Now they've become something totally different where they don't work for the people anymore. They're just trying to stuff their pockets, and so they're getting bought by big companies who just want to stay relevant and want to push things down, and it's very different than what it should have been and what it needs to be. And it's crazy as much as I've traveled, just seeing different countries' governments and how they work and how they function, and comparing them to the United States. As much as I love the United States, and I can't wait to come back home. Uh, there is a lot of things that need to be changed in our government
I
uh,
absolutely
to
agree.
help it be more successful for people. Like in the United States, you should never have to pay for health care. You shouldn't have to pay for health care. You shouldn't have to pay for education. You shouldn't have to pay for housing. Like those are three things that like the biggest thing with housing, like housing should always be available to anyone. It shouldn't be so far out of the market that no one can afford to even rent an apartment. Like that's crazy. Uh with like the fluctuation of different things. Like if you're going to raise the price on gas and food and rent and all these other things, you need to raise the price on minimum wage and how people are paid because it's not the same anymore. And it's just there's a lot of things that just need to change, but I don't see that change coming anytime soon because there's still a lot of people in our political offices that are of that old mindset and it's not going to change for a while. And
Yeah, I absolutely agree.
it's it's good to hear that people want to push the change, and it's very good to hear that people want to push the change for autism awareness because I like you said I don't think a lot of people understand how many people have autism and how many great people have autism and how many people are trying to change the world and they're just seeing through the lens of what your bully called you in high school when they see someone autism and they say the R word. Like that is ridiculous. Like who are you to say what is correct? Like it's it's a dark view of the world when the world should just be a very very nice place.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. And to add on to that, it doesn't help that we have a generation these days that whine and complain and cry about petty stuff that companies do and harass companies, quite frankly, out of existence. Don't get me wrong, I admire what they're trying to do, but there's a better way than just going on your TikTok, hitting your vape, ordering your DoorDash meal, and saying, we want representation in Disney movies. And then when the representation comes, you complain about that. Uh, I see it as a kind of two-sided argument. meant when, quite frankly, a lot of my generation needs to be out on the front lines, protesting, holding up picket signs saying, "We want change. Government, do your job."
Yeah, but that's something like I said. I don't see that coming anytime soon. But it's also being a history teacher and really studying my history. Like I always told my students, history, if you don't learn from history, you repeat history. And we're seeing a lot of repeats of history. Like this is something when we talk about the government needs to change and people standing up to the government and picket fences and protest. That was a lot of the 60s and the 70s. They were doing the same thing. Um, and then when we see how our government is run and how things go, our government is very similar to the Roman Empire in the way the Romans ran their empire and the way they did things. And if anybody knows the story of the Roman Empire, it did not end well. And so is something that needs to change, and it needs to be changed through the citizens of the government, because those are the people who are having to go through the most changes. Like the top 1% doesn't see much of a change, but the other 99 are seeing it all the time. Um, and so, man, before we end this episode, I just want you to tell everybody, what is your story? What do you want to share with the audience about your journey through life? What is your goals? Like, what year are you in college right now?
I'm a sophomore
You're a
right now,
sophomore.
so
Okay.
class of
So
2026.
so
But
you said you're a PR major. Like, is that a public relations or?
yeah, exactly, public
Yes.
relations. Since eventually I want to work in the music industry and the politics industry, and then once I'm
Music
50,
and politics. Wow, those are two industries that are very similar.
yeah, pretty much. And
Yeah.
then eventually, once I'm 50 years old and I have a bunch of money, I've had my fun, and it's time for me to retire, I want to try my hand at the presidency. I think if this country had the first autistic president in the history of the country, it would teach people to treat others with kindness. It truly would.
Yeah. Um, and that's those are great goals, man. Being a PR major, you say you want to work in the music and politics. What type of music, man? Like you said, you did a diss track for, like, you were trying to do a diss track in high school because of
Yeah.
Biggie. Like, did you do Who Shot You? Like, did you do Who Shot You? Did you do Warning? Did you do What's Beef? Like, I'm a I grew up with Pac. I grew up with Pac and Biggie. Like, that's my era. So there's not a song of theirs I do not know.
It was me going, yeah, yeah, you're stupid. Wash your mouth with soap. And in middle school, I actually sent that to the magazine that helped Notorious B.I.G. get his career started.
The
Did
source?
Double XL.
Oh, the source? Oh man. Okay.
Oh,
That's
oh, oh! It was the source.
yeah,
Oh, yeah. I definitely got to review my hip hop history then.
yeah.
But
The
I'm open to
source. Yeah.
Yeah, but I'm open to any working in any genre of music, but hip hop and rap is one of my favorites, especially the newer emo rap genre blending music.
Oh yeah. Who's your favorite artist right now?
Hmm. There's this one country artist I've been listening to a lot whose name is Jelly Roll. He
Jelly
sings.
Rolls.
He's a
Heck yeah.
son of a singer.
Jelly Roll. Jelly Roll. I don't know Jelly Roll's music, but I know Jelly Roll because he's a big WWE fan. And so he's been at a couple shows for the WWE. And so I've got to see him and understand who he is. So Jelly Roll, who else? Who else you got?
I also got Lil Peep, XXX Tentacion, Juice World, MGK is in that mix.
That's cool, man. That's cool. Like that's a wide variety of music right there. Um, so what gave you your love for music? Like what drove that passion? Was that something that helped you with your autism? Is that something that helped you when you were feeling down? Like for me, music was my getaway. Like music and basketball was my getaway. That's how I coped with whatever was happening. Like I would put my headphones on, grab a basketball, and just disappear for hours.
Yeah, absolutely. It was definitely my getaway. But what enhanced it was my time in Tennessee. See, I lived there for 5 years, and the music scene was very influential to me, and it amazed
So
me.
you telling me you lived in Tennessee for 5 years? You like hip hop, but you didn't say 3 6 Mafia at all? Project
I've
Pat?
listened to some
None
of
of
Three
those?
Six.
Three? Huh?
I've listened to some 3 6 Mafia
Oh
songs.
man. 3 6 Project Pat, like that's all Tennessee, man. They put Tennessee on the map. Like that's hip hop royalty right there. That's all man. But no, man, I feel like this has been a great episode, man. It's been a great conversation with you. I hope this episode reaches a lot of people and about the autism era, and I hope it was helpful for you, man, because I know like a lot of this stuff is just helpful to talk about and to vent, and so I hope that this was helpful for you as well. Is there anything you want to say before we close out the episode?
Keep spreading positivity.
Always, man, always. I tell a couple of our new teachers here because if you're new to teaching, and you come into what we do here in Japan, teaching Japanese students English, um, and their younger students. Like I teach first grade, second grade, fourth grade, and sixth grade, so they're super young and they're learning their English. I always tell them, I was like, "It's you gotta think positive with the kids, man. If you think positive, act positive, they're gonna be positive with you." And so you just gotta stay positive with it. I used to be a downer in the dumps all the time, but this time I spent in Japan has really helped me come to peace with a lot of things, and it's really brought out my positivity. And so I think that is a great way to end the episode. Just stay positive, man. And hey, man, I know it's like 9, 10 o'clock down there for you guys in the states. So man, I hope you get some sleep after this because my day's just starting. So I got I got more stuff to do. But it's been a great episode, man. It's been a great time talking to you, Kadin. And you gotta say your last name for me one more time,
McElwain.
man. Okay, say it for me one more time.
McElwain.
McElwain.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's been a great time with you, Katie. So we're gonna close out the episode, man. This has been your host of Conversing Over Drink, Cedric Turner. Once again, coming at you with another episode. We had Kadin McElwain on here, and it was a great episode. If I butchered his last name too many times, y'all kill me in the comments, man, because I need to be able to say his name. I apologize for that, bro. And I hope that you guys were listening to this episode and you're more in tune to be more positive about people that may seem different from you. Just be positive. There's no reason to hate or be mad at anybody, man. Life is supposed to be beautiful. You're supposed to live it in a beautiful, positive way. And so you had to keep that good energy, man. And I hope this brings a lot of awareness to people with autism. Don't give up on your dreams, man. Kaden is a great example, man. Don't give up on your dreams. If somebody tells you you can't do it, tell them I'm still gonna do it. Okay. Don't be scared to live your life. Don't be scared to be great. Kaden, be great, bro. Be great. Okay.
I will, sir. Thanks for having me.
Always, man. This has been your host, Cedric Turner. Peace. I'm out.